All right, this is going to be a quick one because I got to go to bed. Plus, I'm not in the mood to do this right now, but got to hit you with week 3 of the creative recovery. And this week, first of all, excuse the gloss on my face. It's my nighttime chemical exfoliant. You know what I'm saying? I got to keep the skinning. You feel me? But basically, this week was kind of garbage, booty butt cheeks. There was a lot of tasks to do. A lot of it was detective work, childhood digging, which is always kind of fun, but the thing with this week was I feel like I started getting really impatient with the process, and I tried to really get ahead of myself, I guess, and try to jump into making something. And even though something-ish did get made, I still, even though I'm starting to feel more creative, the act of creating still feels very, I haven't been able to tap back into tap back into that feeling that I've been trying to rediscover through reading this book. But it had us do some interesting things. Julia had us do some interesting things this week with describing your childhood room, talking about your favorite thing about the room, comparing it to your favorite thing about your room now. 5 traits I liked in myself as a child, 5 childhood accomplishments. And so going back to childhood, and I feel like it is important to go back to it. I see the importance in going back into childhood at this point or rather when trying to break out of a creative block, because I feel like all the things that we kind of experienced that took us out of childhood, which was an interesting question that came up in my brain. When does childhood actually end? And I feel like childhood ends the moment you experience that thing that kind of strips you away from that mindset of being a child. The moment you experience that thing that I want to say takes away your innocence, but not necessarily takes away your innocence, but opens your eyes. The moment you're force-fed the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil. And for me, that was my sophomore year in college, which most people wouldn't consider being in their college days still a part of their childhood. But I feel like I was a child for so long until I experienced what I experienced in my sophomore year of college, which was no doubt, undoubtedly, the darkest moment of my life, where I realized that, and that's when childhood ended for me. And even though within childhood there's certain things that happened, but I feel like the majority of the things that hinder our creativity are the things that happen after that moment. But we have traumas in our childhood as well. But I feel like for me personally, as a kid, when I faced adversity and when things didn't go my way, I didn't really I wasn't really affected as hard. But I feel like as I continued to stack those losses, that's what it's the accumulation of how every loss if not checked, can diminish your self worth and your self image and your belief in yourself and your abilities. Because I mean, either way, when you're going for big shit, you're gonna lose a lot. So I think the difficult part about winning in life at the end of it all is by not necessarily just keep going, but you have to somehow become numb to losing. And I feel like part of the issues that I'm experiencing in my current creative block is that my losses have caught up to me. That's one of the things. Like I've talked about it in the week 1 and week 2 about what really feels like is causing this creative block, but that's definitely one of them. It's not the whole story, but it's definitely one of them. And so I created this week because I believe in practice, regardless of whether I'm shooting to create a masterpiece or just like practice. I believe in practice, and I practiced this week, which I can consider a W. Julia says set small, gentle goals, which I have disagreed with my entire life, but I'm starting to understand why people say that, because at the end of the day, a small goal is better than no goal. And achieving a small goal is much better than failing at a large goal and allowing your self-worth to diminish because of it. If you can fail at the large goals and still plow towards your dreams with vitality and gusto, then I feel like that's the better answer. But sometimes we have those seasons in life where we're just real sensitive and we feel everything. And that's where I feel like I'm at. But this week was very frustrating. Work was annoying. I still, again, like I'm getting impatient with the process. And I have goals for this year. I have creative goals for this year, financial goals for this year, all types of goals for this year. And it feels like I'm being told to not worry about them, which doesn't make sense to me, because that's literally how I live every day, is focusing on how to accomplish my goals, because they're not going to accomplish themselves. But with this creative recovery journey, it's almost like, okay, stop thinking the way that you think for this 12 weeks, or at least try and focus on these things instead. And like I said, the odd part is that I do feel a little bit more creative, but I'm also still not creating. So I'm a very logical person, and that just doesn't make sense. And it's starting to irritate me. So that's pretty much the gist of this week, how I've been feeling this week. I don't really have time to go into all the tasks and my responses to them, but I feel like what I was saying in the beginning was, I feel like because of the fact that we're diving into childhood, it's nice to remember what made you a child, because we have to stay connected to our inner child in the process of being an artist, because our artist is our child. And so remembering the five traits that I really enjoyed about myself as a child, it's like, okay, do I still exhibit those exact traits? And if not, why? And if not, why don't I start embodying those traits more? When I was a kid, I was super freaking hyper. And I actually loved that about myself. I'm still pretty hyper, which is why I go to the gym so much. But I'm not hyper in society and everyday life. Everyone would call me like a chill guy. But I don't really want to be a chill guy anymore. I feel like bringing that hyperactivity to every point of my day, which is how I was when I was a kid. Obviously, I have to, you have to be an adult kind of, but I don't really think it's serving me and who I want to be and who I like just the lifestyle I desire to live. Because when you're suppressing your need to say and do things all day, every day, it's like, I mean, we're all doing that, but I don't like that shit and I've never liked it. I was very competitive as a kid, which I'm still very competitive, but because my life's mission isn't a competitive sport, I feel like I have lost a little bit of my competitive edge in life, which I want to reconnect with. I wasn't afraid of getting in trouble when I was a kid. Got in trouble a lot. Negative reinforcement is a bitch. I was always focused on the aesthetics of things, which I disconnected myself from that because I wanted to be more optimal in the way I used my time. I wanted to like divert all my time and energy to just being great at music, to just being great at the single things that I wanted to be great at. But I feel like what that caused is it caused me to let go of traits that I feel like would actually propel me as an artist and as a musician. Like being tuned in and more focused on the aesthetics of things is part of being an artist. So there's just a lot of backwards thinking when it comes up to growing up. I was super excited about life. And even though these days I still feel like I am, it gets hard when you find yourself in a season that is draining, boring, mundane, not not in line with what you want your life to be. And so the gist of this coming week is moving forward, I'm part of my recovery is I'm focused on just I feel like I'm closer to being a different person than I was when I was a kid than just being an adult version of who I was as a kid, if that makes sense. And I feel like my life would be more interesting. I would be a better artist, and I would feel more like me, more comfortable in my own body if I allow myself to just be an adult version of kid me with like dialed in on these traits. And it's not easy because when we go through things, we internalize those experiences, and it does change us, but we have the power to change back. We have the power to be whoever we want to be. And I feel like that's where I'm going with this. But yeah, so that's the week 3 breakdown. See you next week for week 4. let's see, what is our week 4 preview says, this week may find you grappling with changing self-definition. That's literally what I just said. Or rather, changing my self-definition back to what it originally was. This week may find you grappling with changing self-definition. The essays, tasks, and exercises are designed to catapult you into productive introspection and integration of new self-awareness. This may be both difficult and extremely exciting for you. Warning, do not skip the tool of reading deprivation. This may be both difficult and extremely exciting for you. Honestly, as of right now, it just feels difficult. I want to feel extreme excitement. It's been some time since I felt that, TBH. But that's who I was as a kid. I was always excited. So, all right, let's do this. Peace.